This is a recording of Lecture 7, OSHA Record Keeping. You can go to the website and see what I have posted for Lecture 7 here. I've got a PowerPoint, which I'm not going to use. I'm going to go straight to the website. I've got some documents you may be interested in, and I'm going to show a few of them to you. I'm having some issues with recording software. This is like my 7th or 8th recording. I downloaded a free version, and so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So as you can see, we've got the OSHA website here. If you want to see the record keeping standards, you go under regulations, and it's under 1904 right here. This really will just give you the legal language that what OSHA requires for record keeping. I'm going to go under employers and then record keeping forms. This is where you're going to get the most up-to-date information about OSHA's record keeping requirements. Now, if you'll notice here, I've got two quizzes. Quiz 6 is based on content from Lecture 6. Quiz 7 is for today's. I want you to bring copies or write it on paper, whatever the answers you want to put. Bring them to class the next lecture, and we'll grade them there. But you're going to be using these for the 5 scenarios to define whether it is recordable or not. First, what is considered recordable? Well, a fatality, something that loss of time or restricted time, loss of consciousness. Now, when it talks about lost time, that does not include the day of. So if somebody got hurt on a Saturday and can go back to work on a Sunday, no lost time. If somebody gets hurt on a Friday and the doctor goes, well, just take the weekend off and go back on Monday, what they're essentially saying is you need 2 days off. That would be considered a lost time because the days lost are calendar days, not assigned work days. That's just doesn't make people happy, but that's the way OSHA has it. Now, anything that's beyond first aid is recordable. So how does OSHA define first aid? Well, you're going to have to look through this list here in order to complete the quiz. I'm just letting you know. For maintaining records, there are 3 basic forms. It's the 300, the 300A, 301. What's interesting is the 301 comes first. That's the incident investigation. 300 comes second. This is where you log all the 301s or a summary of those cases. The 300A is the end of the year summary of the 300. And you can get 2 different versions, a PDF and an Excel. And I believe I've got a copy of the Excel right here. As you can see, there's an A, B, C, D, E, F. This is all information that you will gather from the 301. Here's a copy of the 301. So basically questions 10 through 18. Actually 10 through 17 unless it's a death. That information will go into the log. And then you check what type of case it was, whether it was death, days away. Job transfer restriction or other recordable, again, more than first aid. If there is days lost, again, beyond the day of the incident, and then whether it's an injury or one of these other things. That's really basically it. Back to the website. And like I said, I'm going to keep this short. Here you can go to the regulation. I already brought you there. Electronic submission is something that's fairly new. Larger companies, 250 or more. See right here, 250 or more, or companies that are on the high hazard list have to submit their 300As by March 2nd, as you can see right here. A couple years ago when they instituted this, they were going to have, last year they're going to have companies start submitting their 300s and their 301s, but they changed their mind and currently they're only collecting the 300As, which I think is a good idea. I think submitting all those other forms would be a headache for them. I don't know what they do with all that data. As far as severe injury reporting, there is a change. If an employer has a fatality, they're required to contact OSHA within 8 hours. If an employee incurs an amputation or loss of eye, and this is not only in the workplace accident, but if through treatment the doctor amputates or the person loses an eye as part of the treatment, it's still, you have to call OSHA within 24 hours, or if a worker is admitted to the hospital, so an inpatient. Admitted, hospitalization. Now, in order to get hold of OSHA, go to this page. You can find out where your nearest office is and contact them directly. You can call the 800 line or you can report it online. That stuff is also found on the front page. So here's the home page. If you go right down here, report a death or severe injury, it's right here. If you want to submit your 300A, it's right here. So that's on the front page as well as through the employer link. And then there's other information. And I do want you to come here and spend some time. Read these links. Get familiar. In completing quiz 7, you really have to think this through. These are some complex scenarios as far as what's recordable, what isn't, and then why. I want you to provide the why as well. Now I'm going to provide you with a little bit of information here. So I had initially shown you this. Now I have some issues with OSHA cramming 3 key variables of an incident investigation under one column, which is column F. When I work for the state, I broke it out into 3 different columns. So I've got the cause, the primary cause, the body part, and the result broken out, because then you can actually analyze it when it's broken out. The other thing is that when you just have it randomly and people can write anything, they're not standardized. So what I did is I created a drop-down window, and these are the Wisconsin workers' compensation codes and language. So when I rolled this out, I had the work comp coordinators at all my sites keeping this log. So they were already familiar with a lot of these codes and how it worked. So I just had to have them complete whatever it is, enter in all this other information that came from the 301. Now the 301, I changed it slightly so that it was broken out, and I did train the supervisors to look beyond the worker and try to do more of a 5Y or a systems approach. Then they just had to give the classification, and I had these balances here on the page to make sure they only checked one of these boxes. Then all you had to do is put in the hours worked to calculate the incidence rate. I had a 300A that was always updated, and then the final page I converted this into tracking my top 5 jobs. Now what did I do with this information? I did this, and I'll show you the main data sheet. So on a quarterly basis, I had each of my 7 sites report back to me. There are 300, the Excel sheet, and I entered in these numbers. I went to payroll and got the hours worked, and then I calculated the incidence rates. And what I want to point out is look at the difference between the healthcare and the other. So these are administration and support services. See, the hours are broken down differently. The incidence rate is calculated by multiplying the number of total recordables or lost time and days away times by 200,000 divided by hours worked. And the problem with that is that it includes non-risk hours. And so by breaking this out, so the company-wide is an 18.2. But if you look at the RCTs, it's 29. If you look at the PCTs, it's 40. If you look at the nursing, it's 22. So as you can see, and then other is 5.7. So I was focusing on these 3 job titles at this site because of these differences. And I mean, you can go right down the line and see that it tends to be higher for the healthcare. Yet the company-wide stuff wasn't as, telling, if you will. For each site, I did trending analysis, so we knew how they were doing each quarter based on previous years. Some had dips here and there. I think what I noticed is if I was still there, I would have been focusing on the nursing. The nursing had shown some increases in several of the sites. But as you can see, there's a decent general trend, and it's meant to be all going somewhat downward. That's what we were working towards. So that's what I did. And I'm going to calculate the incidence rates here for you. We'll be also talking about this when we talk about the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So here is an OSHA log. This is from, I think, 1 quarter. And we've got the columns here. So G, in the form, it's G. Focus on that. Death, days away, job transfer, other recordable. So if I want to calculate the total case incidence rate, what I need to do is I need to add the days away, H, the restricted transfer, which is J, and the other recordables, which is I. Wait, H-I-J. H-I-J. You guys know the alphabet. That's the way it's set up. Multiply that times 200,000, and then I divide it by hours worked. So the total case incidence rate is 14.9. This is for the entire company, not just one particular job title. For the lost workday, this would just be H. And again, this is H on the form and not on the spreadsheet. 200,123 divided by hours worked. And it's 8.7. The DART is equal to the days away plus restricted transfer. So it's D-A-R-T. Days away, restricted transfer, times by 200,123,000 divided by hours worked. That's our DART. So those are the 3 main statistics used that we calculate from our OSHA log or 300 log. It's the same column numbers. This is what the units are per 100 workers. So total case incidence rate for this first quarter would be they're injuring, or the number of people injured are 14.9 per 100 full-time workers. This is lost time, 8.7 lost time recordables per 100 workers. Here, almost 14 days away or restricted transfer cases per 100 workers. And we'll be comparing those to the Bureau of Labor Statistics later. I believe that's all I really want to talk about now. I'm going to keep this video short, but bring your answers to the quizzes to the next lecture.